YouTube, it's your boy FPL Kayman, and I'm back with a brand new video. And today's video will be covering my game week 10 team review, as well as my game week 11 team selections and some transfer plans as per usual. In this video, we're also going to be covering something that's new that we haven't done before, is the best assets to buy going into game week 11, whether it be midfielders, defenders, as well as forwards. So without further ado, let's dive in. So as you guys can see, for game week 10, you're about another red arrow. Unfortunately, it's been a really tough week for me. Got my benching decision wrong with James versus Mukeli. It was a bit of a 50-50 to be honest. And then that's a 6-point swing. And then the biggest swing of all is my captaincy blanking in Bukayo Saka, who I used to rave about, calling me star boy. Big differential in my team, only 31% EO around my rank. And not many people didn't even own him in the world overall. And I kind of doubled down with him, captaining versus Burnley. And it was a big mistake, let's be honest. Haaland was in the form of his life, and he was playing in terms of fixture. I mean, overall, he didn't have a great record versus Bournemouth, but he was playing at home, and his home record this season has been incredible. And to be honest with you, it was a skill issue to captain Saka instead of Haaland, considering the form that he's in and the record that he has this season. The guy has ridiculous amount of goals. He's breaking all type of records. So to back against him, as I said, it was a skill issue. And I think that was like a what? I think it was a 10-point swing there. 10 plus 6 points with James, that's 16-point swing. If that went my way, I would have gained a green arrow. But ifs, buts, and maybe. It is what it is. I did start McKeely because of DEFCON, and get was, Lord behold, what do you know? He didn't even get DEFCON, and no clean sheet either. And I thought it was a derby for Chelsea and Tottenham, although I backed Chelsea to win, but I thought they would concede, but Tottenham were horrendous. And of course, James comes with a clean sheet and a late bonus point as well. I was considering a bench boost, and in hindsight, it would have probably been worked out well. If I did, it would have been 17 points. I believe 16 points actually, with James returning and King with 3, as well as Senesi with 3, because he did get DEFCON. But again, no regrets, I'll be honest, because we left to live with the decision that we made. Ultimately, a red arrow. I think a lot of people, not a lot of people, but some people did consider captaining Gabriel. He ended up with 12-pointer, another assist for him. He's been on phenomenal form. I think he picked up a yellow card. If he didn't pick up a yellow card, he would have got 13 points as well. He would have matched Haaland with just 1 assist. And he also hit DEFCON versus Burnley. The fact that a defender like Gabriel can get 1 return, whether it be an assist or a goal, and match someone like the Earl of Norway, Haaland, who braces week to week or even scores a hat-trick, and they can match them with DEFCON, with clean sheet, and with attacking return, I believe defenders are overpowered, especially the likes of Gabriel. And I could make an argument that he's close to almost being essential, as much as Haaland is essential. I'd say those 2 assets are almost essential in the game right now, and I don't say that very often. But yeah, big swing and quite a few disappointments. Watermart got subbed off in the halftime. Extremely disappointed. Gakpo looked horrible. Back-to-back blank. Enzo Fernandez also looked, again, poor. He's got some chances, but he's not been great. Overall, Mateta, I guess, was great. He got a goal right, scored. And but it is what it is. Tough week. We move. Big decisions to be made come game week 11, which we're going to discuss in terms of different paths that I'll be exploring. I'll share with you guys multiple parts that I'm looking at, as well as my transfer plans. But first, we're going to now look at is the potential meta and what players to buy going into game week 11, whether it be forwards, midfielders, as well as defenders. What's the best formation in FPL currently? There's been a lot of changes in the game right now. And the likes of, for example, Rice, Caicedo, Grav, Soboslai, all these defensive midfielders are racking up points. So you guys will see a graphic on the screen right now, which will show the top 10 highest scorers in terms of amongst midfielders in the FPL right now. And you will see the likes of Rice, Caicedo, as well as you got your Grav, even Xhaka, Pelinia. All these defensive midfielders are somehow getting into that top bracket, even though the price is quite low compared to the likes of, for example, Semenyo, Salah, or even Saka, your Palmer, even though it's not been available. I mean, these assets are racking up points. I mean, NDI is up there. There's always another enabler going under the radar. It only costs 6.5 million. And meanwhile, we're sitting here with the likes of Saka, or even sometimes we have Salah as well. And we're paying this extra price. Well, meanwhile, we could get Grav, Soboslai, or even Rice instead of Saka, and they could make up for these points for much less value. Now the question is big, what's causing this? Is it just DEFCON, or has there been a systematic change within the Premier League where these CDMs and DMs are being asked to go forward and basically be a target man essentially in set pieces or even in open play, where they're basically essentially the person that gets the least amount of attention. Your wingers and your strikers and your attacking midfielders are the one that's going to get the most attention from the opposition, whether it be defenders or midfielders. But the person that gets left behind is your Caicedo and your Rice and your Grab, for example. And I think it's probably a bit of both DEFCON as well as the fact that they get less attention and the teams are adapting and finding new ways to play where there is less attention on the DMs and they can get this shot off much easier. Although it's a low XG shot, but at the same time, they're getting these chances and believe it or not, they're converting them. And it's been 10 weeks and this data suggests that these guys are actually genuine options. In the past season, we wouldn't have considered them. And the reason why is because the likelihood of them getting attack return is much less. And they're cheap for reasons in the past season, even this season as well. But I think they've made a slight mistake in terms of pricing this season with this DM, because if you look at it, the amount of routes they have to points for someone like Rice, someone like Szoboszlai, or even, for example, even Grab, like with DEFCON, potential, even some set pieces when it comes to Rice. You also have you rack up BPS more if you hit DEFCON. And then if you get one attack in return, that's automatically 3 bonus points, as well as you get the return for DEFCON. So the amount of routes to points almost makes them somewhat overpowered, believe it or not, especially if they do get an attack in return. I mean, I believe Rice already scored 3 goals. Pellegrini scored already 3 goals as well. It's kind of unbelievable. Even these DMs, like Van de Ven is scoring goals like he's prime Messi right now. The goal he scored in the Champions League is ridiculous. Gabriel is getting assist and goal, everything. Guehi from Palace, the defender, he's getting assist and goals left, right, center. So I feel like there's been quite a few shifts within the league, whether it be long throws or corners, or whether it be DMs moving forward and becoming a target man on set pieces, or even taking the set pieces and they're having more routes to points. Essentially, I would say somewhat reducing the value in terms of your wingers, whether if you're to go for a Foden or a Mbeumo and whatnot, right? And the appeal for the DM goes higher. It's one of those things I'm still adapting and learning to, if I'm being honest with you guys. And I'll show you guys some of the stats on the screen you guys will see right now. Shout out to my boy Thinking Cap, aka Benjay. Make sure to go check out our podcast that we do, Peer Pressure Plus. These are the graphics that he's obviously produced. He's got a bunch of more cool stuff, of course, on Patreon as well as on a podcast. So do make sure to check it out. So you guys will see in terms of GA, in terms of non-penalty XGI, even DEFCON or points per start, even GI, goal involvement, like all these good stuff, like the data is incredible. So at first you guys will see obviously Salah, who's got 4 goals, 2 assists already. And believe it or not, some would say he's still overpriced for these returns that he's got. And then you got Saka, who's been extremely disappointing. If I'm being honest, only 2 returns this season. And then you got Bruno Fernandes, who's been ticking along, by the way. If you own Bruno Fernandes, you're laughing right now. The guy is a very good asset. Listen, I wasn't personally high on him previously, but the fact that I'm looking at the change within this game right now, and the more I look at it, the more I analyze his game and the routes to points that he has, I believe he's one of the only assets in the game that has the rate of DEFCON that he's hitting, as well as the set pieces and pen shares. I think he's the only one that has this many routes to points. And the argument that you can make for is the fact that he was at 9 million, now 8.9 million. That's the only thing that goes against him. And obviously he's playing a bit more deeper role, but he still gets a lot more shots off. So I don't completely hate him. He's not my kind of pick. I would have probably preferred him playing a bit more advanced, but I think he's a good pick now. I do change my mind. I didn't think he was a very good pick in the start of the season, but I would say he's a good pick now, honestly. And I don't hate if someone were to go with him. And he has obviously ticked along very well this season. And then you got your Mbeumo. Mbeumo looks sharp, very good finisher. So I think Mbeumo is, if you're looking for that higher ceiling, explosiveness, then I'll probably prefer him. And then of course you got your Fodens, your Eze and Gakpo of the world, and then Grealish, Rice, Enzo, Sar, Szoboszlai, NDI, Caicedo, Minte. There's a lot of options within midfield, guys. Personally, like, I think the meta should be right now is maybe going 2 up front if you don't have bench boost, and have a dead spot striker, and then go big in midfield, because you guys can see there's so many options. Like, especially in terms of cheap bracket, you got your Minte, Caicedo, NDI, Szoboszlai, Sar, Enzo, Rice. There's so many enablers within that midfield. How can I miss out? Of course, Eze is also very good right now with Odegaard being injured. So I do like a lot more midfielders, but I do have my bench boost for me, for example. So that's a different situation for me. I do need a third striker spot where they do play. So for someone like me, I am kind of forced to go 3-4-3 or 3-4 or 3-3-4 sometimes. But for someone who has already used the bench boost, I do think the method should be have a dead spot striker, whether it be Krupi or Gui. And then you go 5 midfielders. My 5 favorite midfielders going into, say, I'd say this week, or even from Game Week 12, I'd go for a Szoboszlai. I'd go for, even right now, I still like NDI. I'd go for one of, I'd say Enzo is still fine in wildcard, but I'll probably say I'll slightly prefer Rice. I'd go with, even, as you guys can see, I am picking these DEFCON guys and these guys that got so much more routes to points. And then I'll probably say if you got to pick between Salah or, I think if you're going Rice, you don't go Saka. Of course, I assume you're going to go with the Salah draft. If you don't go with the Salah draft, then I think the ideal midfield would probably be Saka, whether one of Mbeumo or Mbeumo. And then I'll go with not Rice because you already have Saka. And then I'll go with Enzo. And I'll probably say Sarr and Szoboszlai right now. Or you can even go for, maybe instead of Sarr, if you have Mateta, you can go for Minte, who's also very good. You can look at NDI as well. So there's a lot of options within midfield, guys. There's almost too many options, if I'm being honest. So I do like the 5 midfield strategy. Those who are on it right now, I think they're very fortunate and they're optimizing their team, because this midfielder has so many risky points. Even Minte can get Defcon as well, NDI can get Defcon as well, and he's got pens. So there's so many risky points for these guys. And I do think the midfield is absolutely stacked. Let's now move into the strikers spot and see what other options do we have within that. So for the forward spots, as you guys can see, Haaland is absolutely, of course, what more to say about him? There's nothing to say about him. The guy is almost, it's essential. He's just insane. So let's not even talk about him. You must have him, of course. So now as the second striker, if you're in a 2-5-4, 2-5-3 formation, I'd say the second best striker, hands down by far, it has to be Mateta. Not even argument, in my opinion. His data is incredible. He's got 6 goals already. His numbers, for example, from shots on the box is 1.9. Haaland is 2.6. He's almost matching Haaland. You also got a non-penalty XG 0.67, XA 0.5. It's just, numbers are incredible. If you're a stats guy, you would love Mateta. Absolutely, he gets tons of chances, and the fixtures are also incredible coming forward. And then I'd say if I had to pick between if I was on a 3-4-3, if I had a bench boost left, I'd go for a cheap striker. I wouldn't go for a JP, or I wouldn't go for a Watermod. They come with their own issue. With Delap being back, I don't see his minutes being that good moving forward. Although his fixtures are good. And then I'll say Welbeck is another one. I think if I was to pick a third striker, and if I had bench boost left, I'll go for either Welbeck or Thiago. But with Welbeck, he's kind of up there in age. I'm not sure about his minutes. Also during December period, he could pick up an injury. And you know how the Brighton manager is. Haaland is an absolute fraud. He makes up injuries. He also lies. He's like Eddie Howe 2.0. So yeah, I don't personally like Brighton assets from that standpoint, because there's a bit more rotation risk and minutes risk, especially going into the busy December period. So I'll probably say slightly between Welbeck and Thiago. I do prefer Thiago. Thiago's got 6 goals. Welbeck got 6 goals. Numbers for Thiago, shots in the box is much more higher than, for example, Welbeck. And then you got 0.47 non-penalty XG for Welbeck, which is higher than Thiago, who's got 0.31. But I still think in terms of more security and more long-term pick point of view, I'd say Thiago is still good. He also rotates with a 5th midfield for me, as well as for my 4th defender. So I do like that. And then I'd say rest. I think if you're on a dead spot striker, probably the best dead spot striker in the game is probably Krupi JR, because if Evan Olsen is injured, he does play. And then Gui is probably just if you want to save some budget there. And then the rest, I don't think that they're very good options. I wouldn't have Watkins. I wouldn't have Bowen personally. The fixture's drying up for Bowen, for example. So yeah, that would be the meta for me for forwards. Let's now move on to the defenders. For defenders, I think, let's all admit now, Arsenal has kept, 6 clean sheets in a row. They have to be your top priority. If you don't have an Arsenal D, I assume everyone has one Arsenal defender at least, I hope. So definitely Gabriel essential. And then the second defender, whether you go for a Timber or Calafiori or a Raya, it's up to you completely. I think Raya is a bit too pricey, so I'll probably go for a Timber, who's more secure for minutes. And then I'd say then you switch it up with 1 or 2 Defcon defenders, whether you go for a Richard or Anderson, or even Senesi, who's a bit more pricey now. Or even if you like Lacroix, I don't think he provides a very good value for his money, I would say, but still, he's a good option. I'd say Guri is a phenomenal option. He's getting so many GA, so I do like Guri as well. And Senesi, I think the best, for me, the current formation I worked on it recently, is I've got Gabriel, Timber, Senesi, and I've got a Michele, who I don't play, the 5th defender. Only in a rainy day, if I have any issues or some sort of major injuries, then he will come in. And my 4th defender is Reece James, but I'm looking to turn Reece James into Van Dijk come game week 12 and 13. So that will be my current plan. So I think those are the 4 defenders I would say is probably best going long term. But you don't have to have Senesi. You could go for, as I said, an Anderson or Richard, who provide essentially the same thing. But obviously with Senesi, there's a bit more potential for attacking return. And then in terms of like other options, I would say from a bit more differential standpoint, Thiago from Newcastle, I would say is a differential shout. I'd probably say if you wanted to spice things up, go for Munoz as well, of course, who's very attacking. Also, Trafford is also very attacking, although they don't have very good DEFCON numbers. So yeah, that would be it. Let me know what you guys think of those midfielders as well as attackers and defenders. Let's now move into my Game Week 11 transfer plans. So going to Game Week 11, I did have to make some big changes within my team, if I'm being honest. So I had 2 options to look at. The first option was, as you guys can see, my drafting for Game Week 11 is that I was switching Gakpo out to Sarr in, and my team looks all right. The only thing with this is that I would have to bench boost this week, and I'll explain why. The reason why is that I would want to bring in Salah in game week 12 and captain him versus Forest, because Haaland does play Newcastle away. And I do want to utilize the fact that I have a lot more money in the bank and to be able to afford a Salah. But I could also delay that move and bring Salah in 13. But I feel like I'm not optimizing in terms of captaincy with the best of my ability. So that was my plan, is to go Gakpo to Sar, then Saka to Salah in game week 12 or 13, and then Watermard to Gui. I think the Salah will come in either 12 and 13, as I said, and this week only be Sar, and I'll be bench boosting this week with Mukiele, who's playing Arsenal, and King with Everton, and Senesi at Villa away, and Dubravka West Ham at home. But I don't like the bench boost this week, if I'm being completely honest, and Bournemouth's record away from home in terms of from XGC, they've been one of the worst, I think bottom half. And West Ham away, they did look really good versus Newcastle. I don't really see a clean sheet for Dubravka, if I'm being honest. So I'm not a big fan of bench boost this week. And I feel like with Salah, I do have to sacrifice United attack and double up on Palace attack when Palace's fixtures is ridiculously congested coming to the game week 14-15 period, when they do have to play Arsenal in the Carabao Cup and they do have to play the midweek game in the Europa Conference League. So I don't want to go too heavy on Palace, and I also don't want to miss out on the fixtures that are coming up for United, whether it be Mbeumo or Quinia or Bruno. I want to have someone there. And I also think Saka, if he picks up form, he's also going to be an incredible on, because the fixtures are still really good moving forward. So the plan B is to go without Salah, and that involved this week making 2 moves, which will involve Gakpo to Mbeumo and Watermar to Thiago. What this does is, for me, it allows me to go bench boost in game week 12, where I have Thiago playing Brighton, and I have Senesi, who plays West Ham at home, and their record at home has been phenomenal. They've been keeping a bunch of clean sheets at home. I do have double Bournemouth D as well, and Dubravka does play Chelsea away, but it's a tough fixture. But at the same time, I have King, who plays Sunderland at home, and Mukiele with Fulham away. So I do like that bench boost compared to game week 11 bench boost, and the fact that I also get to pick up an United asset when they play Tottenham away, which is a good fixture, if I'm being honest, for us. And I also get to keep Saka. I think the combination of Thiago and Mbeumo and Saka would outscore a combination of a Salah, Sar, and I would say a Gui. I do think that in terms of the next 4 to 5 weeks. So another key thing is the captaincy matrix. Now, if you guys look on the screen in terms of captaincy, who will be my captain in game week 11? I'm not going to lie to you guys, it'll probably be Haaland. And game week 12, if I had Salah, I'd probably captain Salah, but if I don't have him, it'll probably be Haaland again. It's not ideal, but if I wanted to go differential, I could go with a Saka, who does play Tottenham at home, and he does have a very good record, historically speaking. And then in 13, you've got, again, if I had Salah and Haaland, it would have been a real dilemma, but I'll go with Haaland, who does play Leeds at home. And then 14, I'd say that's when a Salah Haaland draft has an advantage, with Salah being a very good captain in 14, who's got Sunderland at home. But in that game week, if I really wanted to captain Salah and he looked really good, I could captain him. But the issue is, I'll probably still captain Haaland, Fulham away. And if his minutes are doubt, again, Saka is a captaincy option there. Even Mbeumo, who's got West Ham at home, he's also a captaincy option there. In 15, Haaland has Sunderland, I'll captain him there. 16 is the one I would say I'll be struggling, but again, Saka also has Wolves at home, so I could definitely captain Saka. So the Saka-Haaland combination does work in terms of captaincy if I did wanted to captain Haaland. So yeah, overall, I'm not missing out that much, and I do have the free hit to always use if I do think Salah is the by far standout captain in any of those weeks, depending on form and fixtures, of course. So yeah, as I said to you guys, my confirmed transfers are, as you guys can see on the screen now, it will be Gakpo out. I've already made the move before Mbeumo went up, and I bought in Mbeumo, Gakpo out, Mbeumo in, and I also took out Watermard for Thiago, who has really good fixtures moving forward, even though it's not the greatest entry point, but he's really good long term, and he's also good for my bench boost, and he has great fixtures, and you guys saw his numbers earlier, it's also very good. So that's it, that's the 2 moves I'm making. And moving on to the future weeks, I am looking at potentially doubling up on Liverpool assets, whether I get your Katikes, your Van Dijk of the world. Come game week 13, 14, I'll be bringing these guys in. So yeah, those are the transfers I've made. So moving on to my game week 11 team selection. So for game week 11, this is how I'm lining up. I'm lining up with Dubravka at the back, who does play West Ham away, and I'm going with Timber, Gabriel, as well as James. And then I've got in midfield Saka, Enzo, Semenyo, and Mbeumo, who is my new transfer in this week. And then you also have in the forward, I've got Haaland, Thiago, and Mateta. Haaland does have the captaincy armband currently. I'm not looking to move it off him. Liverpool have looked good defensively in the last 2 games. They did keep 2 clean sheets versus Madrid as well as Villa. But I think Haaland at home, his form has been incredible, and he can definitely do well. And you guys will see on the screen the captaincy matrix. Haaland did score one time that he played at home versus Liverpool, although his away record to Anfield has not been great. He blanked every single time he played there. But overall, I think in terms of captaincy, he does look really good this week. If I wanted to back against him this week, I think my second favorite option would probably be Mateta, who does a Brighton at home. I think you could do well. And then, of course, you got Saka, but Saka did let me down last week, and I don't want to go round 2 again. I'll probably wait on that before. I want to see him pick up a bit of form before I go there. And Salah Haaland has been incredible this year. And only dilemma I have within my actual team currently is I'm looking at is whether to start either Petrovic for Dubravka or Senesi for Thiago. But I think I'll prefer the penalty taker and go with Thiago, who does play Newcastle at home. And I do think he has a higher ceiling compared to Senesi. Then it will come down to just one dilemma is, do you start Dubravka or Petrovic? And I might slightly still lead towards Dubravka because at the end of the day, West Ham, although they look versus Newcastle, maybe it's a one-off. But yeah, that would be a close call. We'll see come the deadline. But it's a close call. Maybe I'll go with Petrovic because Bournemouth defense are quite highly owned. Maybe I do want to play the EO there. So yeah, let me know what you guys think of this team. Is this how you would order the bench? Would you have Senesi first bench or would you have Thiago first bench? Would you start Dubravka or would you start Petrovic? So let me know what you guys think of my transfers and make sure to smash the like button and subscribe and leave a comment down below. And I'm going to see you guys in the next one. Peace out.